तत्परम्पर्यय विद्महे ज्ञानलिङ्गेश्वराय धीमहि तन्नो गुरुः प्रचोदयाते। ॐ योग महर्षि डॉक्टर स्वामी गीतानंद गिरि गुरु महाराज की जय। ओम पुदुवै कलैमामणि पुदुवै शक्ति योगचारिणी अम्मा जी मीनाक्षी देवी भवनानी गुरु माता की जय। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम। नमस्ते, स्वागतम, वणक्कम, bonjour, buongiorno, buonasera, buonanotte, huyamore, boreda, kio, ora, salamat pagi, ayubovan, ayushman bhava, suprapad, shubh dinam, and salom. Welcome to this morning's Scintillating Saturdays, or Fabulous Fridays if you are in North America. Last week we had a magnificent celebration for my 50th birthday, and as you can see, my Sighter team has given me a happy golden birthday with their names on the back. I said the name should have been on the front so I can show everyone, but they felt the name should be on the back. A beautiful Homa and having Ammaji there, and there's Sina's mother there, and an opportunity to do Anand Raj's sacred thread ceremony on the same day. It all came together so beautifully. Very, very beautiful birthday to cherish. And then I was thinking, what would be a good topic for this week? What topic would suit the post-birthday madness? And I remembered a very beautiful suggestion given by Professor Ingan in one of our sessions, where I was talking about the humanistic approach to medicine and how my professors, especially Professor K.R. Seduraman sir, has always been a role model on how to practice humanistic medicine rather than the mechanical approach. And while we were discussing this, Professor Ingan, she said, well, I think the Gitananda Yoga is a humanistic approach to yoga. And it was a very beautiful moment where I had this realization that finally I had the appropriate words to describe this tradition. Yes, Swamiji's teachings, this illustrious tradition going back to Bhrigu Maharishi on one side, Agastya Maharishi on the other, it is a humanistic approach to yoga. When we talk about the humanistic approach, we need to contrast it with what has happened in modern times. Because in modern times, we know about medicine. Medicine which once upon a time was an art and had a heart, slowly, especially post-Renaissance, started to move into this split, a dichotomy, which cleaved it away from being an art and made it a science. So we moved from the art of medicine, which had a heart, to the science of medicine, which had a brain. And then today we have the business of medicine, which neither has a heart nor a brain. I have always worried about yoga going down the same path. It is something that one really needs to think about, because yoga is both an art and science. it is an art and science, it's a way of life, is the process of transformation and transcendence. And yet, this art, this science today has mutated into $1 million, $1 billion industry. We move from a human-based, relationship-based approach to a mechanical approach which is devoid of sensibility and sensitivity. And this is why we need to come back to this concept of humanism. We need to come back to this concept of humanistic approach, which is based on relationship. It is based on relationship, which is what yoga has always been. A relationship between Guru and Shishya. A living tradition where the Guru-Shishya relationship was at the core. We have moved into a model where today you have the mega gurus, mega institutions churning out thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of clones, cookies, all looking the same, talking the same, thinking the same. And we have boxed the whole process, and none of these gurus even knows the face, let alone the name of these students. And there is no interpersonal relationship except a relationship based on the guru will look at me from the balcony and wave at me and I'll be blessed. This hero worship type of model. This is why Ammaji on so many occasions, Ammaji and I have discussed this. Because, do you stay small or do you grow big? And Ammaji's answer was, be big enough that you are not too small to be disregarded. Be big enough that you are not too small to be disregarded. But don't become so big that you lose track of why you are here in the first place. And this is why we have very mindfully chosen in this tradition to be a size that is neither small, neither big. Because this whole tradition is based on relationship. The relationship that Swamiji, Ammaji and I share with each and every member of our Gitananda family worldwide. And every member of this family is valued, is treasured, and is accepted as they are. When you start to accept the person as they are, when you value them, when you treasure them, and you manifest that relationship between Guru and Shishya, that is the magic catalyst that enables transformation and transcendence to occur. If you look at the students of this tradition who have gone on to become magnificent teachers and mentors, as we can see over the last 2 years, we see that each and every one of them, it doesn't matter whether they are in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Australasia, down under in New Zealand, it doesn't matter where they are, on the Hawaiian Islands or Cyprus with my Greek goddess there. It doesn't matter where they are. Each one of them shines bright with the light that is within them. They are not clones. They are the best version of themselves, or are working towards becoming the best version of themselves. It is not to become another Swamiji. It's not to become another Ammaji. It's not to become another Anandaji. No. is to be the first you and the best you. That is the whole focus of this tradition. The tradition puts the individual at the center and says, you are to become the best version of yourself by your own self-effort. And yes, we are here to hold your back, to support you. When you fall down, we are there to hold you up. When you need a shoulder to cry on, well, these broad shoulders are there for you. And when you need a warm, healing hug, well, you know, it's there for your asking. This is the core value of the humanistic approach, is valuing the individual as they are and enabling them to become what they can be. The self-actualization process that Abraham Maslow talks about. You become the best version of who you can be. Not a copycat of somebody else. It's not a cookie factory. We deal in diamonds. We don't deal in potatoes, as Ammaji used to say. Each diamond is unique. It has to be brought into its best possible manifestation so that the light of the divine can come through it. So that the light of the divinity that lies in each and every one of us can shine bright. In modern yoga, you find a mechanical, protocol-based approach. This is the way this practice must be done and no other way. Well, in this tradition, there are multiple ways every practice can be done. And someone may not be able to do a practice in one way. There's always another way in which they can do it. Everyone will find a practice that resonates with them. Everyone will find a way to do that practice that they can do. And as they do it, they will grow into the practice. And the practice becomes the best version it can be through their perseverance, persistence, dedication, determination, and self-effort. Recently, Soumya in France was telling us, she's been doing a lot of accessible yoga. And she said, the Gitananda tradition is the most, friendly version when you want to look at accessible yoga. Because it is having practices for everyone. It reaches the person where they are and enables them to go where they need to go. So it's not like, oh, this is a practice and you cannot do it. Okay, so bad. Get out of class. Go practice and come back. Or here's a prop, here's a pulley, and we'll push you into it and then you have yoga injuries. The bountiful practices that give scope for each and every one to find something that resonates with them. And because of this, I started to read up a bit and I thought I'll share with you a few thoughts here. Because whenever I get these topics, it gives me a chance to learn something more. I love this concept of constantly learning and growing. Humanistic medicine strives to create an ideal and balanced care that sacrifices neither cutting-edge science nor the gentle art of creating a caring relationship. Now just think of, instead of saying humanistic medicine, say humanistic yoga. So it sacrifices neither cutting-edge science nor the gentle art of creating a caring relationship. Isn't this so beautifully manifesting here? You have the science and you have the caring relationship. You have the head and the heart. It doesn't have to be head or heart. It is head and heart. And they both are connected. They both start to work together. Among the approaches used to encourage the practice of a more humane medicine are narrative medicine and patient empowerment. So what is this narrative medicine? It is a way of educating physicians, nurses and other providers that uses storytelling and active listening. One of the fundamental aspects of this tradition is we give space for listening, active listening, and people to tell their stories, to express who they are, what they have been through, and where they are going. To emphasize the humanity of the patient and provider. Both the teacher and the taught are both human. And you have to emphasize the humanity of both. And through this, the physician can practice medicine. In this case, the yoga teacher can teach, the yoga therapist can give the therapy with empathy, reflection, professionalism, and trustworthiness. Now, the moment I read this, I'm like, this is just so amazing. Because the core is empathy, to understand the other person where they are. Understand them where they are, so that you can hold them close to you. Reflection, Swadhyaya, is one of the core elements that are advocated in this tradition. Professionalism, being clear about what you are doing, where it is coming from, acknowledgement of the source, and integrity manifesting through the yogic principles of Yama Niyama. And trustworthiness. I think one of the greatest qualities that our tradition has and embodies is trustworthiness. Because I know I can trust each and every one of the members of my Gitananda Yoga family, Vishwa Yoga Parivar, worldwide. And each and every one of them knows they can trust me. That trust, that is the core of a relationship. A relationship is based on trust. A relationship is not based on what you can get, but what you can give. And that is why this tradition is filled with givers. I can count so many hundreds in my mind right away. What amazing givers we have in this tradition, who are constantly giving. They are not grabbers. The grabbers don't even know of this tradition. Nature protects it. Sometimes I wonder whether we should just be in a cave and not even be out there. But then something drives me, that those who are seeking must have an option to know that this tradition exists. Only last week I put up a small board again on the main road. We took it down 3 years ago when the road was extended, the highway was broadened. We had to take it down, and after 3 years of not even having a signboard on the main road, finally this small, I think it's maybe 2 feet by half a feet or something, is finally there in case people want to find us. Well, Google has blown our cover. Patient empowerment. Now we are talking of humanistic medicine. I'm giving you that comparison. Patient empowerment seeks to create an equal partnership between the doctors and the patients. In this tradition, there is an equal relationship between the teacher and the taught. Placing values at the center of the healthcare encounter. The values are the center of the tradition. It's not how much you can get out of each other. It's not whether you can have one more center in one more country. It is about the value for the person. And this emphasizes the importance of the human experience in the practice of medicine. Again, the human experience through yoga is what we are striving for in the Gitananda tradition. And we have to make sure that humanity of the individual is not obscured in the morass of lab results, patient charts, and insurance regulations. This is why we are not running after all these certification bodies to certify us. This is why we are not worried about whether Yoga Alliance or whoever it may be, whether they recognize us or not. Because paperwork is not what this is about. This is about the human experience. Amazing. When I read this humanistic medicine points, I was like, this is just perfect. And then I went on to find out about humanistic psychology, because Professor Ingen is from the psychology field, and now Divya Priya is also becoming a budding psychologist. So I said, let me find out what humanistic psychology says about it. And they say the humanistic psychology perspective is summarized by 5 core principles, first articulated in an article written by James Bugental in 1964, and then adapted by Tom Greening and the longtime editor of Journal of Humanistic Psychology. And it says there are 5 basic principles. The first one, human beings as human supersede the sum of their parts. They cannot be reduced to components. The modern reductionist approach to everything, including yoga, well, in this tradition, we want to understand the complete whole person, the Purna Swarupa. We don't want to know about your little toe and your gastrocnemius and whether it is stretching or not. We want to know what is happening to you and how you are growing. The second one, human beings have the existence in a uniquely human context as well as in a cosmic ecology. We want to understand our place in society, our place in a relationship, and our place in the universe. The third, human beings are aware and are aware of being aware, that is, they are conscious. Human consciousness always includes an awareness of oneself in the context of other people. In this tradition, the emphasis on developing awareness of the body, the emotions, the mind, and awareness itself by first being aware of how unaware we are, understanding where we are in tune with the cosmic ecology and in society, and realizing that the change that we manifest will change the society around us and the world altogether. Human beings have some choices, and with that responsibility, I can immediately understand that all of your minds are saying the power of choice, the superpower of being human. The power of choice, the superpower of being human. Isn't that the most common refrain? Human beings have some choice. But then with that choice comes responsibility. Again, haven't you heard this again and again? This is the core, that we have a choice. But once we make that choice, we are bound to it. And we must be responsible. The yoga of responsibility is the core of this tradition. And human beings are intentional. They aim at goals. They are aware that they cause future events and seeking meaning, value, and creativity. Again, the whole importance of sankalpa. What is the intention with which you are living? What is the intention with which you do everything? Be it a mantra chanting or be it a yoga practice such as an asana, a pranayama, a kriya, a mudra. If you help somebody, what is the intention behind it? This is the core. And all these 5 basic principles of humanistic psychology, it is amazing. This humanistic psychology model and the model of the Gitananda tradition share so much of relevance here. So much of relevance. And another aspect that also came up in this search was the concept of person-centered therapy that Carl Rogers and others have advocated. And they talked about 3 related core conditions that create a relational climate. The first one is congruence. The willingness to transparently relate to clients without hiding behind a professional or personal facade. Now you know very well, Dr. Ananda is the exact Dr. Ananda that you see And there is no different Dr. Ananda. There is no different Swamiji. There is no different Ammaji. And every member of my family, they are what they are. There is no facade, be it professional or personal. There is no trying to hide behind a screen. We are what we are, and we manifest it with dignity, grace, and self-respect. The second one, unconditional positive regard. The therapist offers an acceptance and a pricing for the client for who she or he is without conveying disapproving feeling, action, or characteristics, and they demonstrate a willingness to attentively listen without interruption, without judgment, or without giving advice. Again, the core of this tradition, where we regard each individual unconditionally. We care, we love unconditionally, and we want to understand their experience by listening without judging. And we are not worried about giving advice. You know that very well, that, sort of one would have to really ask a lot before even a few words are given of advice, because I believe that advice is something that we should be worthy of giving it before we give it. And the person who receives it should be ready to receive it. Otherwise, it's wasteful. So congruence, an unconditional positive regard, respect for the individual. And the third part is empathy. The therapist communicates the desire to understand and appreciate the client's perspective. I think one of the most important aspects I have seen with Swamiji, Ammaji, and I try to recreate in my own life, because both of them have been the best role models I could have ever asked for, is that we need to feel for the other as if there is no other. That sense of shared feeling, shared experience, where you start to understand where the person is, why they are the way they are, and how they can grow into what they can be. This constant effort where the human being is at the center, and as Swamiji always says it, Swamiji has so often said it. He said, ultimately, it is all about what you make of it. So, the Guru is there. The Guru provides the scaffolding. But what is the building you want to build? The Guru provides the equipment. What is the experiment you want to do? The Guru provides all the nourishment. But what is the meal you want to make of it? And understanding, just as a parent understands that the child needs to sometimes make mistakes to grow, you give that space. You don't suffocate them. So many people have this control freakism. You have to let people fall down sometimes. It may be hard. You can warn them at times, there are potholes, but sometimes they have to fall into them. And through that they grow. But when they fall down, they know that you are there always with them. I think this is where relationship supersedes technique. Too many traditions are focused on technique. Technique will come. I often tell people, technique will come automatically. The relationship cannot come automatically. You have to build it. People often say, in a relationship, both sides have to give 50-50. I'm like, both sides have to give 100-100, not 50-50. Because 100 plus 100 divided by 2 is 100. 50 plus 50 divided by 2 is 50. So if each side only gives 50, you're only left with 50. Both sides have to give 100. And that is why in this tradition, both the Guru as well as the Shishya, both have to put in the 100% for everything to manifest. It's not that the Guru will do it for you. Never. That's the moment a guru or a so-called guru, in quotes, says, give me the money, I'll do it for you, you know that you have been conned. It's a good conning act that's gone on. The guru is the scaffolding. The tradition provides us the scaffolding. It gives us the structure. Ammaji keeps on telling us. The structure is required for instruction to occur. Instruction occurs in a structure. And this is why when I was reading up on this, I said, let me go back and look at an old article of mine on some core concepts of the Gitananda Yoga tradition. I shared it on Medium yesterday and also gave a link on Twitter and Facebook for those who want to find it. This article, I'll try to bring together the core concepts, and I kept it as 9 core concepts because 9 is the number of completion. The first one is yoga is a way of life. That's one of the core concepts of this tradition. And that is why it's all about the human experience, that is a 24-hour experience. The second one is create gurus, not followers. Here the whole thing is not about creating more and more sheeple. Or yoga people, do they become yeeple? Yopel? You don't want more sheeple. You don't just want to say, oh, I have millions of followers. The best guru has no students left because they have all become liberated. You want to empower each individual to find that Guru Sakshat within them. And yes, the danger is you may lose them. They go off. But it's okay because you have ignited that flame and now the rocket is going in the direction it needs to go. So why are you worried that they are not with you anymore? It's only the human ego that wants to hold on to them. The third one, breath is life. The importance given to the breath work, the understanding of prana, the enhancing of the experience of the prana, the use of the mental processes through the jnana and Raja Yoga kriyas. Amazing. The work with the chakras that comes as a byproduct of all of that. Again, Swamiji's term, no option yoga, yama niyama. The base of the yama niyama has to be there, and he would say, you wouldn't build a colossal building without a foundation. But you want to do it with yoga? There's nothing like quick fix yoga. No. And this is where, step by step, yoga pade pade. A step by step approach is the fifth process. There are no shortcuts. Step 1 has to precede step 2 so that you can go and prepare yourself for step 3. This is where the worthiness quotient is enhanced by our self-effort. And our effort, as Maharishi Patanjali says, Dirghakala nayantarya satkara ase vito dridabhumihi. How we grow in that experience by having the higher aspiration. The sixth is the love for Indian culture. Understanding the cultural context of yoga. Because when yoga is taken out of the cultural context, well, it is now dead yoga, jada yoga. And you have the body, but it's not functional anymore. That surgery is successful, but the patient's not survived. That type of situation is what happens. You need, for the dolphin to be a dolphin, it needs to be in its water with freedom. Well, yoga has to be supported by that water, which is the cultural context of yoga. We cannot take it out of the cultural context. The moment we take yoga out of context, it's not yoga anymore. It becomes exercise. The bountiful practices which I mentioned earlier, that everyone can find something, and it is the most accessible, friendly yoga, if you look at it that way. It doesn't matter what is your need, well, there are practices to fulfill them. And then, coming into the concept of yantra, that amazing science that lies within this tradition. that enables us to understand who we are, why we are here, where we are going, what is happening, how we are related to everything that is happening. And then the mudras, which are divine communication. I think this detailed exposition and understanding of mudra in this tradition, through which we can understand ourselves, we have a relationship with ourselves, intrapersonal relationship. We can relate with others, interpersonal relationship, and we can relate with the cosmos, transpersonal relationship. All of these are built in such a beautiful way through this tradition. And this is why I think Professor Ingan's comment that day in class was so significant, because in this tradition, the individual is the center. Individual is the center. It's not the institution, is not the center. The individual is the center. And that individual's growth, transformation and transcendence is what is prized. Not whether they sing the glory of the gurus or not. Not whether they go out and publicize the name of the tradition or not. Not whether they go and set new ashrams or not. What is actually prized, what is valued is each individual's transformation and transcendence. And nothing has ever given Swamiji, Ammaji or me greater joy than to see the members of our Gitananda family blossoming into the best version of themselves. When we see that happen, Santoshat Anuttama Sukhalava, Anuttama Sukha, that amazing ease, Paramanandam, Sachidanandam manifests. And even if we sort of lose them, it doesn't really matter. Because what is more important is that they are on that journey of the self to the self through the self. And that is what matters, right? Swamiji never tried to catch students. Ammaji has never done it, and you know me. I keep on referring people to everybody else. And they say, I want to do that. I remember Professor Ken Lieberman talking about it recently, and he said, he was with Swamiji, and Swamiji said, see, Ken, you need a hardcore asana practice. And he said, what you do is, I'm sending you to Mysore, go to my friend Patabi Joyce and take up that practice. And Ken went there and became a very amazing practitioner under Patabi Joyce. Swamiji said, that's what you need. Please go there. Get that fulfillment. It's not about, no, don't go to anybody. Don't look at anybody's website. Don't visit anybody else's ashram. This possessiveness is not love. Many people get confused about it. They think possessiveness is love. Love is the opposite of possessiveness. True love is the opposite of possessiveness. Because you value the person, you respect them, you give them the freedom. You don't try to catch the neck. You don't put them in a cage. Even if it may be platinum, it doesn't matter. Even a platinum cage is still a cage. And when the so-called love becomes a cage, it's imprisonment, it's not freedom. True love is freedom. True love is devoid of possessiveness. True love is a shared experience. And that is what this tradition stands for. Profound interest, as Swamiji would define love. Profoundly interested in each and every member of this family. Everyone, as Ammaji says, anyone who walks through the ashram should be a better version of themselves. Just walking through the ashram, not even coming to class, okay? Even just walking through the ashram, the person should become a better version of themselves, should become the best version of themselves. If that happens, well, we have fulfilled our dharma. It's not about catch them and lock them in and don't let them escape. Get all the money. Hold the passport so that they cannot leave the country. That happens in many ashrams. Many ashrams that happens. You become a prisoner. The human experience is of paramount importance. And that human experience, where we move inwardly, transforming ourselves from a subhuman into a human, into a humane being, and finally transcend into our own inherent divinity. Subhuman to humane is the transformation. And from that state into our divine nature is the transcendence. This tradition wishes that for each and every one, whether they belong to this tradition or not, doesn't matter. Many people in my friend circle are students of other traditions, and they'll vouch for the fact that I've never tried to steal them. I've never tried to steal anyone from any other tradition. In fact, they know very well that I constantly remind them that their fidelity should be to their tradition. I'm there to help them, I'm there to share, but I'm not their guru. And this is so important that, because today we find it happens a lot to me, where people try to steal people. And I'm like happy. I'm like, if somebody can be stolen, it means they were never part of what I am. It's so important. If somebody can steal a student who belongs to our tradition, it means they never belonged to the tradition in the first place. So then why am I worried about it? It's their choice, it's their life, it's their growth. But I feel it's unethical on the part of people who try to do that. It's a mercenary approach, it's a business approach. The business of yoga, neither heart nor head. And this is why I constantly remind people that they have a guru, they have a tradition. And I am not there to replace it. I am not there to steal students, and I'm not there to save souls, for sure. I have no messiah complex at all. I have a non-messiah complex in that way. Because each individual has to do it for themselves. What we can be is a support system. And that every student, every teacher, every member of this tradition, they know it. That unconditional support is there from Ammaji and from myself. They know that Swamiji's unconditional blessings are always there. And they know that whenever they have trouble, they can count on us. So many of you would have experienced this, that all you have to do is send me a message. Earlier, they would send Amma a letter, and they would always get a response that would support them, that would empower them, and enable them to face the challenges of life. Let us remember that valuing each other is very important. Respecting each other is very important. Giving space to each other is very important. When you start to value humanity, humanity will blossom into its fullest sense of abundance. May we all be blessed, and may we be a blessing wherever we are. Truly, I'm blessed to have this life. I remind Amma every day, thank you for this life of yoga. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be what I am. And I keep on reminding her that this opportunity to be human, to live yoga, to love yoga, to share yoga. I cannot wish for anything greater. Have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and see you again next week. Hari Om Tat Sat.